Hi guys, so today is Friday, December 22, 2023, and currently it's 8:27 in the evening. Okay, so we are um on to page 300, 232 and 233 of the book flow. So we're going to continue reading. Okay, so I don't know what's wrong, but I am feeling the feelings right now, so I do not know. So, okay, let's just proceed. It's just, I miss the time when nobody cares. Because, maraming nakikialam. Like, it's so crazy how shit. Let's focus. Okay, so ayan. So, a man interviewed in one of our studies, whom we shall designate as E, provides another example of how a life theme can be discovered. Even though the purpose underlying it is a very ancient one, E grew up the son of a poor immigrant family in the early part of this century. His parents knew only a few words of English and were barely able to read and write. They were intimidated by the frenetic pace of life in New York, but they worshipped and admired America and the authorities who represented it. When he was 7, E's parents spent a good chunk of their savings to buy him a bicycle for his birthday. A few days later, as he was riding in the neighborhood, he was hit by a car that had ignored a stop sign. E suffered serious wounds and his bike was wrecked. The driver of the car was a wealthy doctor. He drove E to a hospital, asking him not to report what had happened, but promising in return to pay for all expenses and to buy him a new bike. E and his parents were convinced and they went along with the deal. Unfortunately, the doctor never showed up again and E's father had to borrow money to pay the expensive hospital bill. The bike was never replaced. This event could have been a trauma that left its scar on E forever, turning him into a cynic who would from now on look out for his own self-interest no matter what. Instead, E drew a curious lesson from his experience. He used it to create a life theme that not only gave meaning to his own life but helped reduce entropy in the experience of many other people. Na ano ko guys, I'm distracted. Okay. For many years after the incident, E and his parents were bitter, suspicious, and confused about the intentions of strangers. E's father, feeling that he was a failure, took to drinking and became morose and withdrawn. It looked as though poverty and helplessness were having their expected effects, but when he was 14 or 15 years old, E had to read in school the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights. He connected the principles in those documents with his own experience. Gradually, he became convinced that his family's poverty and alienation were not their fault, but were the result of not being aware of their rights, of not knowing the rules of the game, and not having effective representation among those who had power. He decided to become a lawyer, not only to better his own life, but to make certain that injustices such as he had suffered would not occur too easily again to others in his position. So, When you notice, guys, like most people who are pursuing law, they have seen many injustices. Mostly it happened to their closest of family or friends. That's why it gives them a huge inspiration, courage, and um, prinsipyo to finish what they had started. And to serve, of course, people who are previously in their position, the vulnerable and the weak. So, yan. He was accepted into law school, clerk for a famous justice, became a judge himself, and at the zenith of his career, spent years in the cabinet helping the president develop stronger civil rights policies and legislation to help the disadvantaged. Until the end of his life, his thoughts, actions, and feelings were unified by the theme he had chosen as a teenager. Whatever he did to the end of his days was part of one great game, held together by goals and rules he had agreed to abide by. He felt his life had meaning and enjoyed confronting the challenges that came his way. E's example illustrates several common characteristics of how people forge discovery life themes. In the first place, the theme is in many cases a reaction to a great personal hurt suffered in early life, to being orphaned, abandoned, or treated unjustly. But what matters is not the trauma per se. The external event never determines what the theme will be. What matters is the interpretation that one places on the suffering. If a father is a violent alcoholic, his children have several options for explaining what is wrong. They can tell themselves that the father is a bastard who deserves to die, that he is a man, and all men are weak and violent, that poverty is the cause of the father's affliction, and the only way to avoid this fate is to become rich, that a large part of his behavior is due to helplessness and lack of education. Only the last of these equally likely explanations leads in the direction of a life theme such as E was able to develop. So the next question is, what kinds of explanations for one suffering lead to negantropic life themes? If a child abused by a violent father concluded the problem was inherent in human nature, that all men were weak and violent, there would not be much he or she could do about it. How could a child change human nature? To find purpose in suffering, one must interpret it as a possible challenge, in this case by formulating his problem or being due to the helplessness of disenfranchised minorities and not to his father's faults. E was able to develop appropriate skills, his legal training to confront the challenges he saw at the root of what had been wrong in his personal life. What transforms the consequences of a traumatic event into a challenge that gives meaning to life is what in the previous chapter was called a dissipative structure, or the ability to draw order from disorder. Finally, a complex negantropic life theme is rarely formulated as the response to just a personal problem. Instead, the challenge becomes generalized to other people or to mankind as a whole. For example, in E's case, he attributed the problem of helplessness not only to himself or to his own family but to all poor immigrants in the same situation as his parents had been. Thus, whatever solution he found to his own problems would benefit not only him but many others besides. This altruistic way of generalizing solutions is typical of negantropic life themes. It brings harmony to the lives of many. We're done na, guys. So, I hope you are having a wonderful Friday. Ayan guys, just mellow evening. Thank you guys for listening. And thank you for helping make this world a better place for all of us and for the future generation. Naubos ang aking energy for the entire week. Okay, I had enough. So, I will see you again guys, and stay healthy everyone. Bye.